So now we're going to chat. We're not going to make it controversial because, I mean, you're not a controversial figure, Angelo Agrizzi.
Goeiemôre, hoe gaan dit met julle?
Anna, baie goed, baie goeie Afrikaans vir Italianer.
Nie te sleg.
Ja, I saw in the book people, hulle weet nie jy kan Afrikaans verstaan nie.
Ja, dis waar.
Jy het 'n paar goedjies al gehoor omdat mense Afrikaans praat en dink hierdie Italianer verstaan mos nie Afrikaans nie.
Definitief, ja.
Yeah, so well played there. I love the book. I'll be honest, it was one of the most interesting and best books, and also in terms of the technology. I want to motivate people to go get the book themselves, but you know, all these QR codes,
yes.
Everything you say, it's backed up with a QR code. We're going to get to Gavin Watson, we're going to get to a lot of stuff. But let's start at the beginning. For me,
yes.
You are controversial.
Yes.
It's a controversial matter, Bosasa. We're going to get some messages, I know it. But you said somewhere in the beginning of the book that at the end of the day, if it wasn't for whistleblowers, what do you think about you or other people, it stopped more money just flowing away.
That's true.
Yeah. So for me, 19 years with Bosasa, how does it happen? When was the first time you think it just crossed your path and you thought, if we pay this guy, we're going to get a contract? How does that happen?
Well, I didn't pay the guys to get the contracts. I was just part of it with Gavin Watson there. He was the guy and the directors that were complicit in actually finding people and doing the marketing side. My responsibility was predominantly operational.
Yes.
To make sure that the operational side of the business was taken care of. So to answer your question, when I first came across it was right way back with NUM when we were dealing on the mines and where I saw the first incidents kind of happen. And I'll never forget the meeting with Gwede Mantashe at NUM offices where Gwede Mantashe turned around to Gavin Watson and says, you better stop your bribery of the shop stewards because you're creating conflict. And he repeated that at state capture when he admitted basically what had happened there. So the intention of the book, you know, and I think this is very important for your viewers to see as well, is to highlight and to show what actually happened and how it actually happened. But more importantly was inside of the belly of the beast tells the story of the detail of it. And the reason I put the QR codes there was because of fact. I'm a very factual type person.
Yeah, because it takes you to a voice note that backs up what you say. It takes you to mails. It takes you to screenshots.
So if you have a look at my testimony, and all my testimony is covered in terms of fact. Nobody has been able to prove or disprove me in terms of the facts that I put forward to the Zondo Commission. And you know, the question is also asked often, why did it take so long? Well, you must remember, Jacob Zuma was the head of state. It was captured. Nkoba Jiba was captured in the NPA, and so were all the other high echelons within government as well. So that was the situation there.
But you say on page 27, is I've come to believe that there are very few people who can withstand the temptation of self-enrichment, myself included.
Yes.
And I always used it with taking you back to Hansi Cronje.
Yes.
I've never been tempted to realize I can make a quick buck here. It's not really that bad, and you make a quick 300 or 400,000 rand. For you, looking back now, because there's some whistleblowers that's got nothing left.
Yes.
Do you still sometimes feel guilty, still being not a poor man?
Well, to say whistleblowers have got nothing left, we're sitting with the same situation. Remember, we had to look after close on 48 whistleblowers that didn't earn salaries and didn't have an income. So we looked after them. And they're there. Unfortunately, they wouldn't give testimony because of what happened to the whistleblowers, the first batch. They did. You know, they were arrested and there were charges put against them. But yes, sometimes I look back and I look at it and I say, you know, did I need to claim X amount as a salary every month? Did I actually have to have that? You can only drive one car. You can only eat one plate of food or 2 plates of food a day. And, you know, does it really matter what watch you wear or what pen you write with or what car you drive? So, yes, there are often times when I look back on this and I get very annoyed. But you know, the reason for that was not only that. It was the fact that corruption in South Africa has gone widespread. We've seen with Digital Vibes now. We've seen it. And we've warned. I've warned them. I have spoken to them. I've spoken to the politicians personally and warned them about this. And it's time we need to now stand together and unify as people, and especially your viewership. They're very strong. They're powerful out there. Stand together now and let's stand against corruption. And let's unpack it. You see, Had I not gone to the Zondo Commission, I could have very well accepted the 50 million rand.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've seen the
And live in
proof of
Italy.
that. I could have accepted 50 million rand and disappeared on a plane, private charter, to Italy and enjoyed the Tuscan life. I didn't. I chose to stay behind because I got...
That's my question.
Yes.
Was there a specific moment that you read something, that you hear God's voice? I mean, you thank him at the end of the book.
Yes,
We're going to
I do.
get to Gavin Watson's belief systems as well. But what was that moment when you thought, you know what, I'm just going to come out with the truth?
You know, it was in 2016 when I had my very first operation. They found a tumor on my heart, and they operated on me. And I was out in a coma. I came out of the coma in January 2017, and it was there that the critical decision was made, based on the fact as well that exasperated it was that Gavin Watson had tried to claim a life insurance policy over me. And when this all came out, I decided, well, that's it. I'm not going back. Remember, I'd resigned previously as well.
Yes, you did, yeah.
So I resigned in August 2016 because he had bought 81 calves with a chap by the name of Louis Pisano to give to Jacob Zuma. And I had enough.
Yeah.
And I'd resigned, and then my stupidity, I went back out of loyalty, blind loyalty. But that's what happens when you're involved in that type of environment. So I do believe that God spoke to me in a phenomenal way in my heart. I can't say he spoke to me audibly. I've never heard God.
Yeah, no.
But
Moses
yes,
alone.
Exactly. And yes, and I decided then it was enough. I had had enough, and I decided that, you know, it's not just a case of just leaving. You've got to go and actually uncover this thing and, you know, open up this wound and let the pus come out so that you can have healing eventually. And simply put, our country needs a lot of healing. You know?
Definitely.
You know, I call it survival of the beast, surviving the beast, but we still need to get to slaying the beast. We still need to, you know, cut it out, corruption as the beast within our society.
When you were arrested and denied bail and they took you to jail, this is just a funny question because it's just something that stood out for me. They took 5,000 in cash from you. And I was just curious, why did you have the 5,000 cash going to jail? And I know sometimes they say, just get some cash to protect yourself. That's the system. You know, I know people get paid to get protected in jail. That's not even a secret. Was that the reason? I was just curious.
No,
because there's a lot of money in the pocket.
No, there was actually, I had actually been asked to draw money by the attorneys to have ready for bail.
Wow, okay, so it was...
So, I mean, the story there is also horrendous. You read about the travelling section and the blue light brigades and all that. Yes.
Hectic. Let's talk... I've got a lot of questions, but let's talk, and I think that's one of the first questions that got through on our WhatsApp as well, about Gavin Watson.
Yes.
And there's also a QR code. That's I can't, you know, screen grab it. I can't show it to people. If you look at the photos where he's lying next to the car, and it's very well done. I mean, it's shocking and stuff. But do you think he's in heaven or in Australia?
No, he's definitely dead.
Is he definitely dead?
So it is definitely.
Because at the end of the book, there was a bit of doubt again. Maybe, maybe not.
No. You know, I put it in the first book. I said Gavin Watson is no more.
Okay.
The beast is no more. And I specifically brought in that QR code because I think it's unfair for a minister like Fikile Mbalula to go around and say, oh, we're going to investigate this, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then nothing happens for 2 years. That's very strange. And to keep this out in the public light for 2 years is a question, puts a question on government's ability and puts a question on Fikile Mbalula, who promised to sort this all out. And that's why I did it. And that's why I put out there, and I haven't given a decision, but I've given some factual evidence that will, and with some proper forensic people, that gives you a little bit more insight into it. And one wonders what actually did happen. Where was the last place he was at? Who was last with him?
Because that photo still doesn't look like an accident scene or someone that was in a massive crash.
No. I'll give you the example of the battery. Did you see that? Now, any forensics would have picked that up immediately and said, listen, but there's a problem here because that battery shouldn't have been there where it was.
And if we talk conspiracy theories, a guy like him, the level Bosasa worked at. If you look, I mean, influential people. Can it be politicians? Can it be other private companies? Can it be other people who were scared to, you know, he had a lot of enemies that wanted just to make him disappear before he talks.
I think it's a little bit deeper than that, and I don't want to. I give some clues away in the book itself on what happened to him and where it happened. I don't want to speculate. I must be honest. Okay, is it as far as politicians are concerned? No.
Okay.
No, I think it's closer to home.
It's closer
If I
to
can
home.
leave it there. Yeah.
Okay, let's leave it there. Because the only reason I thought politicians, I mean, at this stage, even Pretoria, KwaZulu-Natal,
Yeah.
politicians kill each other for place in municipal elections, you know.
Well,
So, I mean, you're willing to kill someone
exactly.
for that now. This guy, you lost a couple of
It
million.
cost them next to nothing because
Yeah.
you hear the voice recording there of Johannes Gumedi where he says, listen, we'll get prisoners to open up a door and kill you and then come back and lock them up and they've got an alibi. So it is possible.
Where were you the most scared that they're going to kill you? Because you really believe that you were poisoned?
Yes, I do.
There's also some proof about that.
Yeah.
When you realize, listen, they can actually kill my wife or me.
Yeah. In Baragwanath Hospital.
That was your,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There you thought someone's going to come from.
And there's a couple of questions around that one asks. I mean, it's nearly a year now. We've requested information. We've put in a PIA application to the Department of Health and to Correctional Service to get feedback on what actually happened. Why did A, B, and C happen? The first reaction from Correctional Services was no, he had low blood sugar, which is totally impossible because if you look at my reports over the last 3 years, it's always been exceptionally high. So it was definitely not that. I remember what happened that evening, and I put it in the book as vividly as I could remember it. So I would say yes, in Baragwanath I was the most, I wouldn't say scared, right? I'd say concerned.
Concerned.
Yes.
And, were you ready if they took your life?
Yes.
You were fine.
Yes,
Especially
I had a total peace about me, and even today I have a total peace. I said to my confidant outside, Isaac, who, I said to him, I said, we shouldn't worry about what happens today or tomorrow. God knows exactly what your time is, and I believe that God has a purpose in everybody's life. And until you fulfill that purpose, you aren't going home yet. Unfortunately, we're all here.
Let's talk, but we don't have to go into detail about the whole racism thing. It was interesting how the Watsons, the other family members, kind of treat you. And you said, it's one of the worst things you've said.
Yes.
You're very remorseful about it.
Yes.
But I think one thing that came up is I think you've changed, but I mean, you can get me very mad. I won't use the K word or talk about monkeys or anything.
Yes.
Do you feel that there was a bit of a racism root in your heart in your earlier years? Because you just don't say something.
Most definitely. Most definitely. We cannot deny it. We grew up in the environment that it was.
Easy.
And at the end of the day, we all have that within us. However, the one important thing is, and this is what I said to Judge Zondo, who I have the utmost respect for, you have to separate the racism and the fact.
Yeah.
The ANC spokesperson, I can't remember his name now, turned around and said, no, it's a racist. And Nombula Mokonyane said, no, it's a racist. Put that aside for a second. Kevin Wakeford with George Papadakis, put that aside. Let's talk about the facts. Let's talk about corruption. Let's not let the racism cloud the corruption that's endemic in this country at the moment.
That's actually what Judge Zondo said.
Yes.
It was very offending what you said, but let's focus on the bigger stuff that you...
Correct,
That you,
and I've paid my penance for that,
Yeah.
and I still pay to today.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, let's focus on the corruption. Let's unpack that and fix that up.
And let's get to that, because even the stuff that you said, page 125, about Batoe, our new head of NPA.
Yes.
Still, what you said there made me think that there wasn't any big cases yet.
No.
We don't see Ace Magashule in jail. So, you still feel maybe it's too slow. Maybe there's still control. It's still a bit captured.
I can tell you now that Jacob Zuma and Dudu Myeni still have their fingers deep in the system. A simple example, there was a raid scheduled on Dudu Myeni's house. I don't want to mention names now. It was authorized. There was a judge signature on a warrant. I think I do mention it in the book as well. That was called back at the minute. Whilst the people were there doing the raid to do the verification of what I had said, they called back and they said, oh, no, we're not doing the raid anymore. I ask you the question, is the state still captured?
That's a good question. Just get back to the Watsons.
Yes.
That's interesting. I mean, Lindy Gous everyone knows it was Gavin Watson's lover. What's she doing now? Do you know anything about her?
I don't have
Just
a clue.
disappeared. And then the rest of the family, they're very quiet. You know, he was this big figure. You've been in the news constantly. We'll talk about the case that's coming. But you know, so no contact, no nothing. Are they still in business? You know,
No, I don't. I really don't know. You know, I don't. You know, I've been focusing on my issues and the book and people that have, you know, been affected by it.
Yeah. And then Kevin Wakeford. I must be honest. If I read this book, you don't like him. You don't like each other.
Well, it's dishonest.
No, you're not gonna have a beer together.
It's dishonest. And simply put, don't go and when he went to the Zondo Commission, what did he do? You know, what he did was he slated me. Why? Why not just answer the questions? Was a cement delivered to George Papadakis as you arranged? Yes or no? That's the question.
Dishonesty. Just what you want. What's happening with your SARS affairs?
Well, SARS,
are they relaxed more?
You must remember, this is...
That was interesting
I
as
owe
well.
269 million rand. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, to earn that kind of money, you need to have to pay that kind of tax would be you'd have to earn over R1 billion. So what happened there is actually quite cynical.
Yeah.
And you must remember, George Papadakis was a major consultant for SARS from 2007 already. And, you know, unfortunately, people are vindictive. And I think that this has got a lot to do with it. I am handling it at the moment. And yes, I'll publicise it. It's interesting that they've put in an application, but they want to have it in camera, not out in the open.
Okay, very interesting. I've got a lot of questions left.
You're
We've got
welcome.
some time. And,
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, this is a lovely chat. I think you know a lot more.
I do.
Ja, definitely. So, jy kan eers ingeskakel bly, ons gaan hierna verder gesels. With us in studio, one of the most colourful people in the media of the past couple of years, Angelo Agrizzi. Welcome back again.
Bye, donkey.
You didn't actually move. Surviving the Beast, we're talking about your latest book. It's the second one. Inside the Belly of the Beast was the first one. And just to tell people again, this whole book is full of QR codes where you can see pictures of Gavin Watson, emails, WhatsApps. It's a very interesting read. Took me 2 days to get through it. A lot of stuff that you say. I want to talk just quickly again about the pressure of being a whistleblower. Because if you look, what's his name again, that committed suicide? Potgieter.
Danny, the attorney.
The attorney.
Yes.
Danny Potgieter. I mean, also, no one knows was it pressure or what happened, but that's the kind of, I mean, if someone does that, there's immense stress.
Yes.
So, you know, just like, yeah, you're still scared now and then or not? That someone will come for you.
You know, I honestly believe that God has got my back all the time. And I actually am not fearful at all. You don't see me with bodyguards. Yes, I can't get around, and I have somebody who drives me, helps me carry, and helps me walk. But the fact of the matter is that I cannot be scared, you know, if I believe, if I have my faith as strong as my faith is, and it's that carried me through.
And then, how do you get the balance? If we look at the Watsons and
yes,
you know, this whole spiritual opening every day with prayer meetings and it's prophetic words, and even Lindy Gous, and then the American guy comes in and just takes him for a ride because he thinks he's an anointed person.
Yes.
The balance between what he believed and the way you see God.
Yes.
Yeah, just like I want to know spiritually what you think.
You know, I've always been a Catholic.
Yes.
And I grew up like that in the Catholic environment. One of my grandparents was in the NK Church, and you know, so I've always had a strong relationship with the Lord, and I knew the Lord long before I got to Gavin Watson, and I think that yes, it did have a negative effect on my perception. And one thing about the Catholicism is that it teaches you the reverent fear of God. That's the most important. And one thing about when you get involved with this cultish story and you start seeing people lying on the floor with flags of the countries and all that, you're always reminded about the reverent fear of God. And I think that kept me sane, even though I was involved with that. But it's very easy, and people got caught up in this whole cultish environment, you know. So one has to, I think it affected me to a degree, but looking back, it's made my faith much stronger.
So now, for me, important question, and it's just more, just for the balance.
Yes.
The difference between the Guptas, for me, very interesting, and Bosasa. Bosasa delivered. You were also upset because a lot of people lost their jobs. You thought you can be sold off and still save some money. But Bosasa, what they did, they paid people to get contracts, but if you had to supply the food or the security systems, the work was done with the money.
Correct.
Whereas the Guptas, they get 200 million for Estina Farm project, and the project never happens. They just leave. And that was quite interesting, the difference.
Yes.
It's still corruption, but it feels a little bit less corrupt. Yeah, it feels a little bit better. Yeah.
No, look, the problem is it was going that route. It was going the route of start cutting, start doing this, start doing that, start doing that. And that's why, eventually in August of 2016, when I resigned the first time, it was purely because, that had started to kick in. And that's unfortunately a trend that you find, that initially there was service delivery and then there's not service delivery. And then you start cutting corners and you have the wrong people running the business and that type of thing. It got to a stage where Gavin Watson actually approached us and said, well, give me an offer to buy out the business. And we did an offer, as he asked. He asked for it, so we did it. And, I think that it was going that route, and that's why it was important for us to stand up and to say yes. But, thank God for AfriForum Solidarity. They were the ones...
It's interesting that you,
they were
tried
the ones
to save the
that
jobs.
I called in, that actually said, because initially, when they went through the private liquidation, or the voluntary liquidation, they gave people letters that you're not getting any salary, you're not getting any money, your leave pay, everything's been cancelled, there's no packages. Thank God Solidarity actually came through for us there in AfriForum, where they actually stood in the gap and said, listen, you will pay the people packages, end of story, and people got paid their packages.
Yes.
That to me was a saving grace.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of the staff knew that we were there in the background making sure that transpired for them.
Two more personal questions, and but I see you open for any question. In terms of the article saying you bought cryptocurrency, it's a logical thing for me. And I know they say you've got this villa in Italy, but it's actually a small farm, but it's still 15 million rand, or just moved money when you realize, okay, there's trouble's coming.
Yes.
But is that true? You've got some, you shift money around just...
No, it's a fact. Yeah. It's a fact. I've never shied away from it. Yes. I got Reserve Bank clearance, and I took a total of 20 million hard-earned money that I'd worked for 20 years, of which my pension was there and vehicles that I sold, which I then bought cryptocurrency, and I dabbled in cryptocurrency when cryptocurrency was on the on-take in 2017, 2018. The house was purchased long before, and I'd been to the house, been back, been forwards to the house. It's not what they make it out to be. I say that it's made out to be this massive villa and all that. It's not true.
So cryptocurrency 20 million? You're probably standing on 60.
No, I wish it was.
I wish it was.
If it was 20 million, I'd have a private jet bringing me here.
Yeah, definitely. And then another difficult one, and this is really from Rudy. It was one of the first questions, because there's a court case still pending. It's a very interesting, it was separated now, but it was postponed because of your health. Yes. So, the first guy says immediately you can promote a book at a morning show, but not pitch up. So, what would you say to that? People that question your...
Of course.
Because it feels like, I think what they feel is they go like, it's a Zuma trick. It's typical. When it comes to corruption of politicians, when it comes to court dates, you just go, I don't feel well, and it's postponed.
I couldn't create this. This happened, and I didn't spend 52 days in ICU, and then thereafter being in hospital, in and out of hospital, because I just wanted to. And when they wheeled me into Fourways Life, I was dead. I was on a gurney. There was nothing left. The doctors said in a Zoom meeting, and this is the problem, is they had a Zoom meeting with the doctors. The doctor said, look, you gave me a dead man. I knew what he was because I treated him previously. He was healthy. I didn't create this. And it's not nice every morning when you wake up and you can't walk because of... So what you see, and the facade maybe that I put on is because I've got a strong mind. And because, I'm still on oxygen. I still have to go to the doctor. I take, I think, 48 tablets a day. I have to take injections. I think it's 5 injections a day now. So yes, I come here, I get in the car now, and I sleep all the way home.
I totally understand. You can't. A full day at court is a different ball game than.
It's. I did it, and you will always have, I believe, the people there that'll question, and it's good that they question. But walk a mile in my shoes, do what I've had to do.
What do you think is going to happen with the court case? You've got a case.
I can't comment because it's sub judice.
Okay.
But the facts are the facts. Remember something. All these things are reported on long before there were any charges. So, you know.
Do you feel it's also a bit victimizing that you're the only one that's been taken to court out of all these people's names? And
You know, I don't want to go into too much detail. I probably will in the future.
Yes.
The book explains a lot of it, and it does create a concern.
Yeah. Quick questions. You think because you published this book yourself,
Yes.
it's uncensored, uncut, because they
Yes.
pulled, there was no publisher that want to touch it. A lot of money into this, especially the gift bag. I thought you want to bribe me to do a great interview. No, joking.
Well, you got the book in the bag that Gavin Watson. It's exactly the same bag that Watson used to pack the cash in.
Can you believe it?
Yes, so that's the security bag that you got.
Oh, okay, now it's special. So do you think anyone's going to sue you because of what's in this book, or they can't because it's true?
Well, look, I must commend the attorneys, Wits attorneys. I must commend Willem de Klerk attorneys because they've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Okay.
So, but the facts are the facts, and you know you cannot lie in a book. And I mean, inside the belly, not one person dared to even try and question this because the facts are there.
And then last question, because you know everyone, and I know Gavin Watson was at Cyril Ramaphosa's son's wedding and stuff like that.
But it wasn't only Gavin Watson. Eh?
Yeah, it was not even. But do you think we're going to be surprised with Cyril Ramaphosa also being a bit corrupt because he's ANC, or what will you rate him 0 to 10 in terms of what you know?
What I do know is that we need leadership in this country. What I do know, and it might be very controversial, is that we currently don't have the ability in the current leadership to pull the country together. You know, Nelson Mandela did a very clever thing. He worked with the Afrikaner people, and he worked with the old regime, and he worked with the new. And he brought the two together. We need somebody who can bring the two together. Because let me tell you something, you've got a lot of credibility in some of the Afrikaner people and English people, but quite simply, you need the people to work together. And you need that experience. I mean, you've got leadership, and we've got such good leadership in the Afrikaner community, and we've got brilliant leadership in the black community as well. Let's bring the two together. Then it'll work. At the moment, I rate it as 0.
Yeah. So it's actually, yes, we're going to be surprised sometime.
I'm sure we will.
To the president. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to your listeners.
Yeah, and for the trouble being here. And I think, I just realized you can throw anything at you because
I'm honest.
You're honest. You talk lekker. Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you so much. It was lovely being here. En groet aan almal.
Groet aan almal. Sal daai boek ook ek gelukkig kry jy ou boek ook.
Kom ons gaan groot.